Welcome back to another episode of This Film Not Rated, a branch of the Music City Drive-In Podcast Network, where we try to not rate movies that we've seen this week. The internet seems to think that there is an objective truth to a film, and we're here to prove them wrong by taking on a challenge of a gauntlet of 15 questions. If we cannot get through that gauntlet by answering every single question as objectively as possible, then we just drop the questions all together and move on to speaking freely about the movie. But on the upside, if you are able to get through all 15 questions, speaking as objectively as possible, you will get a certificate signed by both myself and Eric, as well as a prop from the movie that you are talking about as an acknowledgement of your ability to speak completely and wholly objectively about film, which is, as we keep saying, is nearly impossible task. With that being said, this week we are finishing up a trilogy that we started about 3 weeks ago. So Eric, what movie are we talking about today?
Halloween Ends.
Yes.
I have a prepared written description of the movie.
Ooh.
Because this is polarizing, and this is why we do what we do.
Yes.
Halloween Kills ended after 2018 made a huge celebration of the relationship between Laurie Strode and Michael Myers, and a whole movie of Laurie being incapacitated until Michael took this huge personal stroke at her and killed her daughter.
Yes.
And the expectation was they're going to do this massive trilogy, and the marketing ramped this up. Now, right after Kills ended, Jamie Lee Curtis went to the internet and said people are not going to like Halloween Ends.
Mm-hmm.
Surprise. The idea, I think, is everyone has an expectation for a Halloween movie to be Michael Myers killing people and suspense and a specific type of horror. And, you know, when it gets too aggressive with the kills, people don't like this, a la Halloween Kills and the Rob Zombie Michael Myers. Mm-hmm. They want it to be a little bit grounded. Here's the thing. I am actually a little disheartened. There was a guy that we both really like that we follow, Jeff from Films at Home, mm-hmm. put up a 1-minute YouTube short. And you know what? People have their biases. People have what they love. There's literally no problem with this whatsoever. I don't bring this up to say there's any problem with it.
Right.
He straight up says, and you know we talk spoilers on this podcast,
mm-hmm.
that he did not like the movie, and one of the biggest reasons why he didn't like the movie is because it breaks a cardinal sin of a Halloween movie, quote unquote, that you don't let somebody else wear the mask, nonetheless kill wearing that mask. And it's a case of someone who has been growing, and I want to see them grow.
Yeah.
Put out a statement that, you know, it's probably going to be fine with their traffic or whatever, but just see someone who's like, I love movies, be like, I hate this movie for such a weird reason.
Yeah.
And not that it's weird. I think a lot of people agree that Michael Myers should be the one wearing the mask instead of it passing along. Mm-hmm. But this franchise's whole history, all the way from 78, is when you take off the mask, he's just a man.
Yeah.
And it's the mask that's powerful. And you had the hint, oh, are they going to pass it to Jamie, his cousin, in part 4? No, they fucked it up.
Yeah.
Oh, is it going to pass something to Allison with that last shot in 2018 and her hand on the knife? No, that has nothing to do with it. Mm-hmm. Oh, is Dr. Sartain wearing the mask? Is someone else going to take over? No, they're not going to do that. It's really been a surprising lot in this movie, mm-hmm. that there's been a suggestion that what if somebody else was the killer? Yeah. But I don't know. Let me wipe that away and just say all of this is to say what people's expectations seem to clearly be was Endgame, like we joked about it in the last episode.
Yeah.
For Kills. And we said in that episode, this is more like Iron Man 3, where everything in the marketing that David Gordon Green and company are trying to say, mm-hmm. even though I still think they're way out of touch and have gripes with them, is all, this is the story, this is the ends of the story we wanted to tell, not the ends of the franchise.
Yeah.
They've been very public about the fact that this is not supposed to conclude some saga of the franchise, and never was.
Mm-hmm.
So all that aside, Let me describe a movie without those expectations.
Go ahead. Do it.
In a town wrecked with grief over the attack of a mass murderer, parents come home one Halloween night and their babysitter, at that moment, may or may not have accidentally kicked their son off a 3-story staircase to his death. That babysitter's life for the next several years has been less or worse than it could be. And he's been pushed and threatened by people until he's nearly killed. He finds love with a survivor of the mass murderer, and as they start to fall in love, he grows more confident in himself, but caught between love and evil. He chooses revenge and evil, ultimately. And then he meets Michael Myers, and that shape, I know you know I'm using that word very intentionally, is something that helps give like a structure to something he's going through. And the Strode family now has an actual personal connection that brings that killer home.
Okay.
That's Halloween Ends.
The gauntlet begins now. Eric, is Halloween Ends a good or bad movie?
If you were expecting a Michael Myers movie similar to 2018's Halloween, this movie will not match those expectations. And therefore, you may not feel that this is the movie you expected. If you are not someone particularly attached to the Halloween franchise, so you have no expectations, there have been several people noting, despite their gripes with the movie, at least one solid emotional performance, whether that be from the actor who plays Corey or Jamie Lee Curtis. There has been at least one remark, and there have been several remarks about the direction and shot composition of the movie having a lot of thought and detail and color and depth in a way that people speak favorably.
I think you're good on that one. Question 2. What was the best scene of the movie?
I have not yet seen a negative criticism of the final interactions between Laurie Strode, Allison, and Michael Myers specifically.
Not saying there isn't one, you're saying you have yet to see one. So, okay. What should be cut from the movie?
There is more than one line of dialogue in this movie that describes what you're seeing visually. Now, that's not saying that they should be cut, but that cutting them would have no impact on the movie to me. Oh, wait.
Treading on a thin line right now.
Wait. If I pick one line, I'll be able to stay objective.
Okay.
As Laurie Strode in the beginning of the movie is describing, as she's writing her book, the impact Michael Myers has had on history, there are extra shots of the original Halloween and 2018's Halloween and Halloween Kills. One of the shots that they show is the nurse accidentally shooting herself from Halloween Kills. And all that made me think about was the fact that they weren't tying together the movies Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends.
That they weren't tying together the movies Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends.
And that's subjective, because if someone thinks that they are, that 1 in 99.9999 who's going to think that they are is it. So
that seems to be a tough one. Is what should be cut.
Because it's not just what could be cut, it's what should be cut.
Right.
And it's so important because so much of the discourse around this movie is based on what people feel like it should be.
Yeah.
But also it's really hard to go to bat for like David Gordon Green, who literally wrote the equivalent of the line, "Somehow Palpatine returned," in Laurie Strode saying, well, you'd think it'd be impossible for someone to get away from a situation like that. Where there's only one staircase and the person you just killed just screamed and everyone knows where you were going. And the daughter who just fought Michael, multiple police officers are all sitting in the front door right in front of the stairs. There's absolutely no consequence to that.
Yeah.
How do you go to bat for someone who just so clearly is out of touch with his audience?
I understand, and like this movie, it in itself is polarizing, maybe as much, if not more so, than Halloween Kills.
It's bizarre, right? I think it's because there just weren't that many people who were favorable on Halloween Kills.
Right. I mean, we're part of those people, but we also have aspects of the movie that we like. Well,
so are you favorable on this?
I actually liked it a lot. My biggest gripe with Halloween Ends, it's the Halloween movie that I've seen that most feels disassociated from Halloween.
Even Halloween 3.
Even Halloween 3. I've said this before. This movie feels more like a spiritual successor to John Carpenter's Christine than it does with Halloween. Because even Corey has that kind of Archie mentality from Christine, where he's slowly being corrupted by an outside force.
It feels like a wider John Carpenter homage than just that. Even just the idea, a lot of people who have even been complaining about this call it like it's an anthology movie. And it's like widely known that John Carpenter's original idea was to have this be an anthology, and that's why he was involved as much in Halloween 3 as he wanted to be, and resents Halloween 2.
Yeah. And then the other thing, a vast majority of the film is literally just about the people from Halloween Kills going through their own trauma, kind of like Laurie did in Halloween 2018 from Halloween 1978, where you're watching the aftermath even 4 years later, and how people have not forgotten, they haven't forgiven even Laurie Strode for apparently it got out, I think, that she wanted Michael Myers to get out, and now she's being blamed for that, or some stupid thing like that.
I thought you were talking about that moment, the survivor from Halloween Kills, which I'm really thankful that character survived, and I think that's really important. You do know in Halloween Kills that she recognizes the neighbors, that crazy lady next door, her house is on fire.
Yeah.
So she knows who Laurie is.
Yeah.
And the hard part is to continue to try to swallow this pill that Laurie and Michael are not related. Everyone remember, there's no connection between them. The whole thing was supposed to be tragic, that he actually did not care about her at all. Yeah. They're not supposed to be a thing.
Right.
And that was the whole twist of 2018, is they had to, because they separated them from being related, they had to force Michael to be near her.
Yeah.
So they're not a thing. Michael Myers is back to being the ambiguous boogeyman who could be after everyone, and everybody likes that.
Yes.
So then when you hang this character's depression and anxiety and self-hatred, Laurie's, on the idea that she is responsible for Michael, it doesn't feel right.
Yeah, and it's not just her. It's also Corey's mom who blames Laurie for, I guess, Archie going down a bad path.
So the closest I can get to justifying this is everyone knows her house went up with them trying to burn Michael.
Yeah.
And he survived, and only after that did he kill, like, I don't know how high the body count is in Halloween Kills, but it's up there.
It is.
It's
the highest body count in any Halloween movie, I think.
I guess it's back to dead meat for me after this to go, total that up.
Yeah.
But I know the kill count is pretty quiet and personal in 2018. You know, it's a couple of babysitters and people related to Laurie Strode.
Yeah, it's the same way with Halloween Ends. There aren't a whole lot of kills, but most of them have some sort of personal meaning or vendetta to them. The two that I can think of that were just mean-spirited were the record player, the radio DJ, and the father being shot in the head by one of Corey's bullies.
I didn't feel like that was too mean-spirited, that one. I understand completely why you feel that way. Like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it's just so... It's that thing that I don't think I made totally clear when I was talking about Halloween Kills, where they do such a good job of giving gravity and weight to the death and the murder in these movies, that in Halloween Kills, and with a kill like that, where they don't, and they play it off like you're supposed to laugh at it, it doesn't feel right. It feels like you're primed to feel really tense and morbid over what happened, and then they go silly with it.
Yeah.
The record store guy, trying to rewatch the movie, he is everywhere, but it's everywhere in a way that, again, is very unsubtle, and they just don't... Like, David Gordon Green not only isn't attached with his audience, he does not trust his audience at all.
Right.
He's like, I need to make this guy a thing because we want to do some exploitation homage to like 80s slashers. And I know the exploitation is more 70s, but that was very clearly a specific style, that shock jock radio kind of personality doing that thing, and him having the sort of aesthetic that he has, and the idea of the tongue skipping on the radio. It's so clearly somebody's like idea of a set piece. It's like when you come up with an action set piece and build a movie around it.
Yeah.
The thing is, here, the movie just didn't justify that.
Right.
You could have just split up some of the teenagers.
Like in Christine, where each of Archie's bullies are slowly picked off one by either Archie or the car.
Yeah, that's a really good comparison. And that's the thing, I really like Christine. And this has the same... This has the same feeling of like a slow, quiet build. Which, again, must really piss people off. You have this giant, loud plane coming in like it's going to be dun, 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 like all kinds of like crazy Halloween nonsense. And instead what you get is just... Ooh.
Yeah. Normally, subtlety isn't the name of the game for Halloween, but that's like all Halloween Ends is for like its main story point. The kills are not. Let's be clear. The kills are not subtle, but like the driving story... It's very kind of like downbeat, kind of like relaxing chill.
It is. Yeah. Like, especially the relationship between Corey and Allison.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people are criticizing and have problems with. There is a criticism I agree with this movie, and that's that stuff happens really quickly.
Yes.
But I don't always think that that's a bad thing. Like, I know that it happens very quickly to the point that that's odd for the audience. For example... him killing the homeless person, Corey, killing that homeless person. Yeah. It's like, all of a sudden, whoop, here we go. He's killed more than one person. And it's like, oh, okay. You know, because, like, we're in a weird position, you and I, because I spoiled stuff. And I kind of think, I wonder if I owe you an apology. When we did Halloween Kills, I said that company of people who've been talked about the story of this movie is... A babysitter gets blamed for killing a kid, and then he basically becomes a copycat Michael Myers.
Right, okay. Right.
I kept it loose. I said a Michael Myers copycat becomes involved.
Yeah.
But the idea is, if you know those two elements going into the movie, I'm trying to watch the movie thinking like someone who didn't know that, right? And I'm watching the opening, and it says it's 2019, and I'm just thinking, did they just get that wrong? Is it still 2018? And you set up this horrific death, and it's like, oh, man, stuff is going crazy in Haddonfield.
Yeah.
And then you cut to Laurie Strode, and you see that they skipped everything, and you're like, wait, hold on, what? So you just spent this whole opening sequence with this kid, then find out it has nothing to do with the story you've been watching. Then, you are slowly watching the characters trying to pick up their lives while you're trying to get over the fact that there's going to be no resolution to kills.
Yeah.
So all of those moments where the characters are trying to move on and live their lives and having these emotional moments, I think a wide majority of the people in the audience are pissed off and trying to work that out.
I think so. And you're right. I did have a little bit of a primer going into this, but also my expectations for Ends were so low by the end of by the end of Halloween Kills. I think if I got anything slightly different from the traditional Halloween feel, I was going to be pleased.
Yeah, and that's they right off the bat they open over the Universal logo with the music coming from the Shock Jock Radio guy.
Yeah, which that was so jarring, but
yeah,
it's different.
And the titles are stylized to be more like TV static and leaning instead of being your classic Halloween font. The aesthetic is new, the tone is new, the story is new, the people are new. But it's funny, I noticed a common criticism for a bunch of people is that this movie has too many plot lines going on. And it's funny, because really, no, there's only 3.
Yeah.
There's only Corey turning evil, Corey's relationship with Allison, which technically are really connected, and Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
But I recognize something.
Okay.
Technically, if you take... Well, Michael Myers, we're waiting on him to come back because everyone expects it. You would think that's a plot line. And then the teenagers, if you think those are supposed to be the new slasher fodder, you would think, oh, that's a plot line. And it's like, if you take apart like Halloween, any of them, Halloween 5 is the one I'm trying to make it through right now.
Right.
Well, Tina has a romance with her boyfriend and wants to work that out, and that's one subplot.
Yeah.
And the lead from the 4th one is caught by surprise and attacked, and that's one subplot. But really, the whole movie is just Michael Myers is coming back to kill people.
Yeah. And I guess if you look at it that way, it has more plot threads than Halloween 2018.
Allison is trying to hang out with her family and friends.
Yeah.
And cope with what's going on with Jamie Lee Curtis. Jamie Lee Curtis is waiting on Michael to come back. Okay? Michael is coming back and trying to kill people. Dr. Sartain is a thing.
Yeah.
Okay? It's very... I think people are just so pissed off right now that it's way too bold of me to say this, because I feel like people really are passionate. I really love this franchise. I don't think I have a sense of... It's kind of sad. It's like people who are a fan of this franchise and want to see it be something that can be considered like meritable art,
right,
have been let down by so many installments.
Yeah.
Like since 5 and the Cult of Thorn, and people who don't like the Rob Zombie ones, which is like a lot to most of them. And so many of them have just been like, and this one, 2018 showed so much promise in being something that is like, you take Halloween and you put it as a franchise on par with something transcending horror, like Marvel and Star Wars and The Matrix and Lord of the Rings and Halloween, you know?
Right.
And then for the ending to land on this limp idea, like, I feel for people who are, like, so disappointed and walking in and just being crushed at these creators who just did not care about the success they got or what they were doing. Because Halloween 2018, they did bend over backwards to edit. They wanted to do the 1970s stuff, and they were like, wait, hold off, see if you can do it, if they let you do a sequel. And the big thing that David Gordon Green is like, he has pissed me off again, is...
doing that a lot lately.
We questioned last time how, with COVID going on, do you end up with a movie that feels so jumpy and inconsistent?
Yeah.
That's because they were busy turning Halloween Ends from a movie that also took place the same night in 2018 into this movie that takes place 4 years later. So they put all their work into this movie, and that's why right when Halloween Kills came out, Jamie Lee Curtis already knew what was going to happen in Ends and everything, because they had been working on that during the time that they had delays for Halloween Kills.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoops. You know, if you had layered Corey in the same Halloween night, you can see what they're going for chopped up into pieces.
Yeah.
Dr. Sartain is fascinated with evil. The land is fascinated with evil. Corey has evil within him. Michael Myers is the idea of evil. Everyone wants like a piece of understanding of how evil is operating in this territory. They've taken away his name. Laurie Strode literally called him the Shape in the first movie and didn't even, call him Michael till later. And it's so clear in retrospect what they wanted this movie to be over one Halloween night where he came home and it got crazy.
Yeah, you could like if this took place on the same night, you could even just have Corey like somewhere in the background watching Michael kill a few people, but always at a sight. You could have him get the interest in. Then Lily just pick up.
He puts on another Michael Myers mask. There are 2 Michael Myers creeping around, and people don't figure that out till it's too late. Allison's boyfriend cheats on her, so she storms off, and this other friend Corey that she was close with is
Yeah, the 2 Michael Myers thing could have been like a reference to that one weird incident in Halloween 2 where the boy that Laurie was going to go
Tramer.
Yeah, where Denton Tramer got ran over by the car because he was dressed as Michael Myers as well.
No, I don't think they hit him on purpose.
Right.
They had him. The car was just going. They call out, and the guy stops in traffic, and he gets nailed, and then it explodes.
Right.
I can't even ID him. I think that's the reason why I felt safe going into this, and why I was so impressed with this movie, and how quietly it rolls through. It's pretty easy to figure out what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But
we watched it together. We were calling things 5 minutes before they happened.
Yeah, this movie is not scary.
No. It's
more horrific in horror. What they're doing, and that descent is tragic and horrific in nature. I really like the actor who plays Corey.
Yeah.
I like the actress that played Allison. I was trying to think about this because so many people complain about Allison, and it's yes, they never did more substantial with her character, but at least in this movie, she makes her own choices.
Yeah.
She has agency and purpose and drive and intentionally does everything she's doing. I don't know what people expected there to be deeper about her personality-wise, but the whole point of the first one is that generational trauma comes through, and you can tell she tried to have a relationship with a police officer, and you can tell that there's some broken history here where she's trying to make a life for herself. And when she sees someone that she feels like she can open up to, she snaps on that immediately. And
yeah,
I think the guy's performance was enough, and I think I love Jamie Lee Curtis. Whether she's sitting in the chair tapping up against the wall, or she's damn it, I wanted to bake you a pie. Or,
just being flustered and unable to talk in the grocery store.
And then when she's confronted after the grocery store and she's just kind of sinking.
Yeah.
The only parts of her that I don't believe by the end of the movie are the bravado parts. That one moment where she's did you really think I'd kill myself? It's yeah. Why are you so bold all of a sudden? You've been strong. There's nothing wrong with also being human.
Yeah.
And that really comes down to my main gripe, which is the dialogue, which is such a huge problem. I feel like this movie on mute would be fully what I think it is in my head, when the reality is that the dialogue is sometimes borderline insufferable because it's so, again, just like Kills, smacking you back and forth across the face with what it's trying to say.
Yeah.
It's like people fit a shape of evil. I love that line in the end, but it's in the beginning, she's let him in, let it in, let evil in.
Yeah.
And 2 seconds ago, she just said Michael truly was evil. And it's we get it. We got it in 1978. Oh my gosh.
on the flip side, the direction and the body language I really liked, especially when it came to Corey. The first time you see him after the incident, he's working at a mechanic shop. He's wearing the coveralls that Michael has. When he goes to that Halloween party, he's wearing the scarecrow mask that's very reminiscent of the clown mask that young Michael wore. He's even tilting his head in that awkward way. It's a whole bunch of direction that's giving mirroring cues that tie him to Michael Myers, and it's constant throughout the film, all the way up until he meets Michael Myers, where you get one of the editing things that I have an issue with, where you have well, I guess not editing.
The eye thing.
Yeah, the eye thing. It's not it's not editing, but it's a sequence, and it doesn't need to be there.
It should have been one shot.
Yes.
Of just a close up of Michael Myers reflected in his eye.
Yes.
That whole thing. Again, David Gordon Green insisted Michael Myers is not supernatural. It's okay, so he's been. After every piece of crap that has happened to Michael over Halloween Kills and Halloween 2018,
Mm-hmm.
like, he's like a crusty old part of the crew, part of the ship, dead man's chest dude sitting in the wall.
Yes.
And then he kills someone and it, like, gives him the blood of life like he's a vampire.
Yes.
Now, the actor who plays Michael, James Jude Courtney, I think is my favorite actor who's played Michael Myers with Nick Castle.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, like, the way that they portray the shape is very similar, to the point where I was convinced that was Nick Castle in the suit still.
Mm-hmm. And there are moments where he seems frail, and there are moments where he seems indestructible, and that dude has the ability to choose how he comes across.
Yeah.
And I really hope he's not done doing some effective stunt work, character work. One of the best moments that I would go so far as to say is a perfect moment in the movie is Allison, through a bunch of terrible dialogue, decides to leave home that night and leave Jamie Lee Curtis alone.
Yeah.
But it's raining, and she notices in the distance that the radio tower is on fire.
Yes.
And she gets a call that she doesn't need to get, so I guess it's not perfect, saying that there was a suicide called in.
Mm-hmm.
And she knows everything.
Yeah.
She saw Corey, down and dead. The mask was laying there. You can piece that together. And she knows when she sees that tower and when she decides to go back for her grandmother. She knows everything. So why in the hell did you have to slap an 80-yard line? I know it wasn't Corey, by the way. Oh, no, the 80-yard line is Jamie Lee Curtis's.
Oh, yeah.
But I still don't like the line that she says, I know it wasn't Corey. I love so much better when she's sitting in the shop at the end and looking at the TV and they're ascribing all of Corey's murders to Michael Myers.
Yeah. And
just the way they decided to finally end Michael Myers was good.
Yeah.
I'm so sick and tired of someone not just stabbing him over and over and over and over again.
Yeah. We still didn't get that in this movie. We still got fatal blows, but we didn't get someone just stabbing him constantly.
Well, the idea of draining him of blood made sense, but then we saw he still had a bunch of blood when he got put into the thing.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, so he's coming back, so he's supernatural. You're telling me this 60-plus-year-old man, right?
Yeah.
Is like, oh, I got my hand blown off, I got my hand chopped in half, I got shot, and I got in a room where I'm wearing a mask with a bunch of fire where I can't breathe. Then I took on all of these firemen who, like, only like a couple of them hit me or whatever, limped my way in to go kill these other people. Then I got round-the-clock, wholesale beaten to death in an alley, and then stabbed in the shoulder, and then just manages to, like, walk his way to his sister's house. And the whole point in Kills is, oh, he's trying to make his way home. And then he's like, well, guess I better leave home and survive in the sewers. You know what other movie they say he tried to survive? What? Living just off of, like, rats.
Living off of rats?
Like, homelessly.
I'm guessing Halloween 5
Resurrection.
Resurrection. As much as I'd like the ending, yeah, they're like... despite David Gordon Green saying that he's not supernatural, I so don't trust him at this point, that throughout the entire procession, when they're walking him to the grinder, throw him in finally, I'm just sitting there waiting for Michael Myers to just get up and start killing people again, because I just don't trust David Gordon Green.
Well, also, we can't trust anyone anymore to not have been told to lie by a studio.
Right. But I am glad we actually got a movie where Michael Myers actually does die. You could say H2O at the end of that, but then that was retconned by Resurrections, where it's just a cop.
It was retconned before Resurrections. That's the weird thing. That's they made them come up with Jamie Lee Curtis only joined that movie under the condition that it be the last movie. And then she still had the rug pulled out from under her with her contract, and they made her do one more after that. And she said, the only condition in which I'll come back is if you kill me. That's why you get the opening of Resurrections. And she also asked to not be told how they were going to keep Michael alive.
Mm-hmm.
And just in case the movie did horribly, they wanted to be able to end it. So they did write in advance down how they were going to have had Michael be alive. And then filmed it knowing that that was what was going to happen. And that's why for a little while he's like pawing at the mask in H2O and stuff.
That feels so slimy though.
Yeah, it sucks because it's so clearly like, business at the expense of a story.
Yeah.
Which, whatever. H2O is awesome. Like, I really enjoy that one. And so, but I really enjoy this too. So,
yeah.
it's funny. This is one of those movies that I feel like people are going to dig their heels in the ground and be stubborn and say, no, this really was bad, because they're going to be so scarred. And who am I to say why? Because they're diehard Halloween fans, and you might feel after multiple decades of your life passing that you deserved something that this didn't deliver but promised to be. So on that level, yeah, dude, this sucked. But as a movie that has nothing to do with that purpose, I really liked this movie a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I even loved this movie.
Yeah,
it just is really flawed.
Yeah, but most movies are, and we always look past those flaws. So, I can easily see myself going back to watch this. Just the overall tone and atmosphere of the film. I like, despite everything, John Carpenter's score still sticks out as a overall positive to the film and the trilogy in general. Like, even the best part of Halloween Kills is John Carpenter's score. One could argue.
One could argue.
But no,
this film not rated. This film not ranked, really, is what we're trying to avoid.
I guess so.
But actually, I think we're doing a very good job here. People should understand the premise really well, hopefully from this conversation, that we're not sitting here definitively telling you what you should think of a movie.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point, is these are stories to engage with. And ultimately, this is another really unique standalone chapter in a story about the concept of Halloween. And I really think Time is going to be friendly to this in that fan base. But I feel like Halloween fans, who are all currently largely negative on the movie, are going to like revisit it for YouTube episodes and Halloween futures and things like that. And I think it's going to sit favorably. I mean, just think about how depressed you are now that you hate this movie, and then go watch this movie to deal with that depression. Like,
I get that. And I'm looking forward to getting this movie when it comes out on 4K. One, to complete the set, and two, because
looking forward to being able to like purchase and rewatch this movie. Yeah. I see. It's funny. You say this one feels at least like Halloween, but man, like, to me, this felt like what I want to watch when it feels like Halloween.
Yeah.
It feels cold. It feels like fall. It feels like a bunch of people roaming around outside, and everything feels like it's decaying a little bit. And there's a spooky monster out there, dude, and then there's some gore.
Yeah, but those are two different things. Like, feeling like a Halloween movie and feeling like a movie that I would watch during Halloween.
Yeah.
But you get one of those things with this, and I'm fine with either one.
And you know what I hope this is? I hope this is the last ends. I hope they don't try and, right. I would love to see Jamie Lee Curtis in another capacity. In fact, I would love, and I want you to give me the answer on this, and I want anyone watching this to put this in the comments below. The last thing we'll talk about. Instead of what would make you watch this again, here's what I want to know. My next Halloween movie. Okay? If you're going to stick to pleasing the fan base while trying to do something new, I want them to go back and do a different legacy sequel where Laurie Strode has to confront the fact that she was in witness protection and was never there for her daughter, Jamie. This would be taking the fourth Halloween movie, retconning 5 and 6, and doing a sequel. So the movies go 1, 2, 4, and this one.
Okay.
So, what Halloween movie do you want to see next?
Similar to what you were saying with Jamie Lee Curtis in the mental asylum, which actually this is actually or the hospital, which was actually one of the ideas for a sequel to Halloween back when they were trying to come up with something to do after Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. They had this idea of going back to and putting Laurie Strode into a hospital, I think a mental hospital or a trauma hospital, and having it derive from there. Something like that, and have the horror be completely in her mind. Maybe go with the similar theme to this one, where she is so scarred by it that without her knowing, she's becoming Michael Myers, and then she becomes the killer, and she's killing people around the hospital. But she's seeing it through a mentally fractured lens, where what she's seeing Michael Myers do is actually her doing it.
Like a malignant type situation.
Yeah, I think I would like to see that. It depends on how it's executed, but it's different. That it's something that we haven't seen from a Halloween film before, and I'm all for trying new things in an established franchise.
So, we are This Film Not Rated, a branch of the Music City Drive-In Podcast Network. So check out the musiccitydrivein.com for a lot of other topics. They're going through the football season right now. There's a lot of super fun things going on that I know nothing about. So tell us, please, reach out, comment below, whatever it is. What do you want the next Halloween movie to be? Just as a firm reminder that this isn't and never was supposed to be the end of the franchise. So tell us.
All right.
I'm Eric. You can find me at High Contrast FLM.
And I'm Curtis. You can find me at 90sgamer407 and on Twitch at Merrick_Tainment.
And you can find this whole thing at TFNRCMEL. How do we close this out? The end.
The end. Halloween ends. That's how they ended it themselves. Halloween ends, and it just fades off with Halloween, and it just ends at the end. Halloween ends.
Boo!
Get spooked, everyone.